Good evening, Drew.
Okay. Sorry about that. I have been sick
Oh no.
and
Oh no.
I needed to make sure that my voice sounded okay tonight. So,
Okay. I mean, we can keep this short too.
well, that's okay.
Okay. All right.
Honestly, it's
Okay.
like the
Okay.
best part of my day.
Okay. Okay. Oh,
Oh,
I'm sorry you're not
oh,
feeling well. That sucks.
well, it's okay. I had a lot of travel
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
past week and there's more travel coming up, and if it's one thing that I think we can all agree on is everything's great. Everything's great.
Yeah. Every,
Everything's great. Everything's fine. Nothing's
mhm.
broke.
Nope. Nope.
Everybody's gonna be fine.
Hmm.
Just keep going.
Yeah.
Everything's good.
Mhm. Yeah. Everything is fine here. How are you?
Well, so it's funny.
Oh.
I was teaching a class
Hmm.
this past week
Hmm.
in Chicago,
Okay.
and I got there on a Monday, and we were flying to Chicago, and there's a couple different airlines that offer direct flights from here. And it wasn't a super bumpy flight, but
Hmm.
it was a little bumpy. And it's literally an hour. It's an hour gate to gate.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Not
we're
a not
about
a
we're
short
about
flight.
yeah, we're 28 minutes into the flight. And I got my AirPods Max on. I'm watching some reruns of Mad Men because that's a perfect little bite-sized thing to consume on a flight that short. And there's like out of the corner of my eye, there's this activity.
Uh-oh.
Now, it's not the flight attendants because they said that because they thought that it was going to be a little bumpy and that it was such a short flight, they
No
weren't going to have
service.
time to
Yeah.
do cabin service. Which, you know me, I love to hear that. I love to hear that it's going to be bumpy. That's my most favorite thing to hear on an airplane.
Ugh.
And there's this commotion,
Hmm.
and somebody across. I'm seated in the window on the left side of the plane, and across the aisle there's a commotion, and it's somebody waving their arms in the air.
Okay.
And at first I'm like, what? What's going on? And then it gets a little more frantic. So apparently, the woman sitting over there has some sort of medical emergency.
Oh no.
Yeah. So the flight attendants come over, as they're trained to do. What's going on? It wasn't a full flight, so the people that were seated next to her sort of moved out of the way, gave her all the space. I guess she was having some sort of heart problem.
Oh, that's not good. Not a great place to have a heart problem. No.
Yeah. And we're 20 minutes into this flight. We're over the armpit of Indiana. And I'm thinking, okay, so there's gonna be a medical emergency on this flight. Where are we gonna land? Like, we're just gonna land at Indiana and then figure out how we're gonna get to Chicago, or are they gonna press on? Like, what's
I
going
mean,
on here?
I'm sure you tapped into your vast knowledge of airports from all your flight sim bullshit.
Uh-huh. Yeah. No. There You know what's funny? So I'm gonna stop here and I'm gonna give a plug for an app.
Okay.
There's a great app that if you fly even semi regularly, Flight Aware makes a hell of an app.
Okay.
Now, the first time you use it, it's a little funky. And if you have an ADSB receiver, meaning like you have an extra Raspberry Pi laying around, you're an automatic pro member. You get all the features of the app if you have an ADSB receiver. But what's cool about it is if you pull it up, it will show you every airplane that's around you, every track, and it'll show you every airport and every heliport that's around you.
Okay.
And I don't think we realize just how many small municipal airports or heliports exist in a major metropolitan area like Columbus. But you're absolutely correct in that there are a ton of airstrips between here and Chicago. And that makes me feel good. I'm not super worried about flying over land. It's when we have to fly over water or mountains where there aren't places to land that I get a little nervous, but I digress.
You know how I feel about water, so yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, you don't like that either.
no, I don't like it. I don't like it one bit.
Yeah. So there's this medical emergency happening. And the flight attendants come over, they start working on her, bring her some water. One of the flight attendants is like fanning her with one of the safety cards. And I'm like, I don't know what's happening here. So then they make the announcement that I never thought I would hear on an airplane, asking for doctors and nurses. Is anybody with medical experience?
Yeah.
Is there a doctor in the house? I never thought in all of my years that I would ever hear that announcement in any public setting, but that's what it was. And this nice woman came up who was a nurse, took her pulse. Her pulse was a little low. They gave her some sugar, gave her some snacks. By the time we continued on to Chicago. By the time we landed, she seemed a little more responsive. She was obviously very embarrassed. She was like crying. She was like, "I'm sorry, I didn't." And everybody was like super cool with it.
Yeah, shit happens. Yeah.
I get it. I mean, I'm sure that I have looked unsettled on airplanes before, so I totally understand her plight. But that was like sort of a first for me. So then we land, we taxi to the gate, and as we're pulling into the gate, there's ambulances and fire trucks, and they come on. Everybody's like, okay. They said, okay, everybody stay in your seat. We're gonna help this woman off. The paramedics come. They ask, do you need any help getting off? No. They take her, put her in a wheelchair, and we never saw her again. So, yeah, that was something. That was scary. It was really scary because it's like, what do you do in a situation like that? I'm sure that if it had been a longer flight, they probably would have diverted.
Yeah. I'm sure someone was doing the math. I'm like, she can last 30 minutes. Let's just get there.
Yeah. But super scary stuff. That was sort of the highlight of my week. Well, so we're in Chicago. And we're teaching the class. So I get there on a Monday. We're teaching an all-day class on Tuesday. Really good time. You know me. I like to do that stuff. It's super cool. I like it. People had fun. It was a good time. Then at lunch, my phone starts blowing up. And it's people from work, and it's people who listen to this show. It's people who are my friends that don't even know I do a podcast. And they're like, "You're in Chicago. Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yes, but I'm sure you saw the news of that near miss at Chicago Midway."
Oh, yes. Yeah, I did. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that made me feel really good because that's the airport I usually fly in and out of when I come to Chicago.
Yeah.
Everything's just great. And then I have more travel coming up, and we're begging air traffic controllers to come back to work after we, laid a bunch of people off.
Yeah, oops.
Yeah, everything's just so great right now. Everything's just so great, and I feel so good about everything. How are you?
Yeah. I mean, the world's going to shit, but I mean, I'm excited for the Stadium Series game tomorrow. So there's that. It's gonna be a little chilly.
You going?
Oh yeah, yes.
Is that the one that's at OSU?
Yeah, at Ohio Stadium. Yep.
I thought that already happened.
No, it's tomorrow. It is very much tomorrow.
Okay. Mm-hmm. What time is that?
It's so the television broadcast begins at 6. The puck drop probably won't drop to like 6:30 or so. But
so it'll be kind of under the lights then.
Uh-huh. Yep. Which means it'll be colder. That's okay. But like there's a bunch of shit going down around that area starting at like noon. So I don't know when we're gonna go down there.
Okay.
We'll see. Yeah, it'll be fun.
You and Zach, you and the whole fam?
Whole family.
Oh, look at you guys. Family. That sounds really fun.
Yep. I spent too much
really
on tickets,
fun.
but that's okay.
Where are your seats? Are they close?
They're good. Well, I'm actually a little worried that they're a little too close. Hold on.
That is the thing. Yeah, is the thing about hockey. Yeah, too low is not good.
Yeah, but like everything I've read is like every seat in that, because it's a football stadium, right? Like there's not designed for like boards in between you and the No, the action. Like every seat is gonna suck a little bit. Either you're gonna be obstructed or you're gonna be so far away. You go for the spectacle of it. But we are in. I splurged on club seats. So we're in club 2, row 11. So there we go. Don't be creepy. Actually, this won't come out after it's over. So
this will be
be creepy if you want. It's fine. Yeah.
So is it just you guys in the club seats?
Yeah, I mean the club. If you look in Ohio Stadium, right? Like if you kind of like it's mostly bleachers. But they have like those faux sections that have like seats. That's the club section. So,
club seats, Ohio State. I'm looking. Yeah, that's probably a lot more comfortable than sitting on cold ass bleachers.
Yeah, that when I was starting to, because I bought them on the second hand. I bought them resale or whatever. Because like their tickets were just like season ticket holders were buying them, and then they were all like just so many people. If I was going to wait in line for my turn, there were so many people in front of me. So I started just kind of keeping an eye on thing and looking for what prices were going to be. And I'm like, well, if I'm just going to do it, then, I might as well just get club. That way I have like a seat back and it's not a metal, it's not just, bleachers. So if I'm going to and let's be honest, the Columbus Blue Jackets have been around 25 years. This is our first outdoor game. This is a very distinct chance. This will be like the only one in my deal. Yes, it might be the only one in my lifetime. So I'm going to go, right? So I decided, and I'm like, well, I might as well just spend the extra money and get the seats that I want. So I did it. Yeah. So we're all going to go, and should be good. I'm hoping.
Okay.
Yeah. Plus, the game is going to be, the game actually means something. So there's that. So I don't know if you're following the standings, but currently the Blue Jackets and the Detroit Red Wings are in the final 2 wildcard spots, and that's who we play. That's who we're playing tomorrow. So yeah, should be good. Yeah.
Let me look at those standings real quick. Yeah, my Penguins are not doing good. Yeah, you and the Red Wings. Yeah. In the Metropolitan Division.
Yes. So
you're on a 3-game winning streak as of this recording.
We are. We're getting some people back from injury at a key time. Yeah. I don't know. I still feel good about this season. Still feel good. So, but yeah, it should be fun. They put the cannon on a trailer and drove it down from Nationwide Arena to the stadium.
That fucking cannon.
It's there. I have read that the blast is going to be much louder. That they have planned.
I don't see how that's possible.
I don't know. That's what they said. It's going to be louder. So
it's not indoors anymore. Indoors is louder. I've shotguns in the house. It's loud. Don't do that.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, it's going to be a good time.
Are they gonna juice it? Are they just gonna?
Yeah.
Are they gonna throw more gunpowder in there?
Well,
to make
so
sure everybody can hear it.
All the cannon, also the sound you hear at Nationwide Arena does not come from the cannon.
Could have fooled me.
Yeah.
It's pretty loud.
So it's actually charges in the roof of the stadium. They just have a little bit in the cannon to make smoke.
So there's just explosives above your head.
Yes.
That's comforting.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's how that works. Yeah.
Okay. So they can't put explosives above your head in Ohio Stadium.
No, they cannot. But so I imagine.
So they will actually juice the cannon.
Something. I don't know. I believe the actual cannon is full of concrete, so it actually couldn't fire. But yeah.
I mean,
it's not a working. It's not a working
heaven
barrel.
Forbid, or somebody probably needs a Class 2 NFA destructive device license for that cannon.
Probably. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah, should be good. But
okay. I want to dig in a little bit more there. So it obviously that's going to happen around 6:00 tomorrow night. Are you going to dinner? Are you going to eat there? Are you going to make a whole night of it? What's the plan?
So We're kind of playing things by ear right now because,
I love that. I love that for you.
well, it's mostly because my son Zachary stayed home sick from school today, and he's not feeling very well. But
Okay.
he's determined to go to the game. Determined. So if he's not feeling the best, we may try to show up there. Not not super close because don't want to be late, but we probably won't do any festivities. We'll just stay home, go there because you don't want to be sitting out the cold if you're not feeling well. But we'll see how he feels.
Trust
tomorrow.
me, I know.
Yeah, so we'll see.
What's he have? Is it flu or is it cold?
I don't know. I'm hoping just a cold.
It's going around.
Yeah, it is.
My co-presenter in Chicago got me sick, so I'm feeling super great.
Yeah. You know what's not
well.
It's. Did you see the article I put in the show notes there?
I had so many people reach out to me today. You know what though? For all the bitching and moaning that we've done about this, so why don't you tell everybody the big announcement?
Microsoft is going to be shutting down Skype.
About 4 years too late.
About 4 years too late. For those of you who don't know, for some reason, Drew and I have had basically every podcast episode, all 271 of them, has been facilitated by Skype.
And I honestly think it's because of all the different platforms that we've experimented with.
Yeah.
Skype weirdly sounds the best.
Yeah, and it just works outside of the fact that, you have to deal with all the Bitcoin bots every time you launch it.
It is. This is very much we had to destroy the village to save it scenario. It's Microsoft's Vietnam. Like they're just getting out. They know that it's a losing battle to try to police this system.
Where are those Bitcoin bots going to go, Drew? I'm really worried about them.
I don't even think they want to put up with Teams. Hey,
no. So
yeah. I had a lot of people reach out to me today. A friend of the show, Eric, is obviously very interested about what the future is going to be for us. So let's talk about it. Like, what is our plan?
Probably should just use Discord, right?
Do you think Discord? Do we need Slack?
I don't know. I mean,
didn't we try Discord?
I don't think.
So let's talk through part of the reason that we did Skype. You use the program Audio Hijack still, correct?
Yes, I do. Yeah,
and that works with Skype.
It technically should work with anything, but one of the nice things about Skype is, so to get super nerdy here, so Drew records the audio from his mic and I record the audio from my mic, and that's what you hear on the podcast. But I also take a recording from Skype, and how Skype presents itself to Audio Hijack, I can basically take our two tracks and split them. So like your voice is the right stereo track and my voice is the left stereo track, which is convenient because if something happens in a recording, I can split those two tracks apart into two separate recordings, get your audio from Skype and use my audio from the mic. Or I also use the recording to kind of like line everything up when I'm first starting because we don't hit record at the same time. So I kind of use the Skype recording to get everything set up correctly. And I imagine I could do something similar with Discord, but I haven't played around with it, so I'm gonna have to play around with that to see whether I can now I do know from having tried to use Discord in the past for other things, Discord hates my audio interface. Hates it. Yeah.
And when I use Discord a lot when I play video games with my friends, and everybody's audio quality sounds okay, but you're right. I feel like there have been other programs that we've tried where the quality hasn't been as good.
Yeah, because you really need something with like decent qualities for us and like low latency. Because,
right?
Like, yeah.
Okay, so I think we have until the end of April.
May 5th is when
May 5th.
May 5th.
Oh, it's the day before my brother's birthday.
Okay.
Well, when do we want to make the switch, I guess?
I don't know.
So we just bite the bullet and go for it next time?
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe do like a little test recording at the beginning?
Maybe. Yeah. Just make sure it works. And yeah. May 5th. That's
I'm trying to remember what we tried before we went to Skype. There was something we tried way back in the day.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I definitely don't want to use Teams.
No.
Definitely don't want to.
No, I'm in Teams all day for work. Teams is work. I don't need.
No doubt.
Yeah,
no
I don't
fucking
need,
doubt, buddy.
Yeah. So.
Remember when Skype was the shit, though?
Yeah, I mean Skype was good.
Skype was a big deal.
Yeah.
Just another one of those brands that goes the way of the dodo in this age of the internet.
It's dead. So yeah.
What year did that launch?
I'm
trying to remember. Skype first launch. I could probably ask an AI, right?
Probably. Yeah.
Skype. Initial release, 29 August 2003. So I was out of college. Yeah, I mean, there was definitely, and I think if I'm trying to remember, so when I first started working with you at the place where you work, wasn't Skype the internal messaging app?
It might have been.
That right?
I don't. Yammer. No, it was Yammer. No, Yammer was the web thing.
Yammer was the Facebook ripoff.
Yeah.
There was some internal messaging app that we used before Teams became a thing. I thought it was Skype.
It might have been. I don't remember.
Yeah. Or was it just Microsoft Messenger? What was it?
I don't know. To me, Teams is just it's Teams. It's Teams.
It's Teams all the way down now.
I mean, Teams is fine.
It's not, though. It's real bad. I hate it. I get to use Slack at my company now, and once you're in the Slack workflow, it's good.
Okay.
It's real good. Yeah, I very much enjoy that. I have a hard time with Slack and the fact that I go back and forth between my AirPods and my AirPods Max. It has a real hard time with that.
Really?
Yeah. Sometimes I just won't have audio unless I totally disconnect my Bluetooth and reconnect it. But I can't tell if that's a Mac problem or if that's a Skype or a Skype. But it's not a problem.
Every morning before my first Teams meeting, I need to reach up and unplug the USB cable from the back of my webcam and plug it back in, or I don't have video. So that's a ritual. Actually, that's a ritual I have to do every day. With
I'm glad you brought that up. Mm-hmm. So are you still using the Opal?
No.
That's right. I've got
an Insta 360 something.
There was a solid 30 days back in January where my Opal refused to give output to any web conferencing app on my Mac. Just refused. It was not a choice in Google Meet. It was not a choice in Zoom. It was not a choice in Teams. It was not a choice in Slack. I could plug it in and I could use the Opal little menu thingy to see a preview of my video, but it just would not show up as a device on my Mac at all. And then in February, it just started working again. So I have no idea what's going on.
Neat. Yeah. No, I have.
That's right. You did buy the fancy Duchess,
and it's on a little gimbal. It's so cute. And when it's
I'm a little jealous of that.
And like when it's not, like when you're not recording, like it points itself down, like it's depressed. Like, I'm not being used anymore. Thunk.
Well, the reason that's interesting though, because I feel like Skype was the first program I used for web conferencing.
Yeah.
I don't think I had. I mean, definitely in college, all we had was Instant Messenger and IRC and what was the not IRC was
the super nerdy one. ICQ. Did you use ICQ?
ICQ and IRC. Yeah. We had both. I was never an ICQ guy. I had it. I think I had a number. I could never remember what mine is. My brother was way into that. He probably remembers his number and everything.
I don't remember my number, but I remember it was Was it 5 or 6 digits? It was low. It was really low for ICQ. And like me and all of my friends sold our IDs to like people in Russia for like a couple grand each because they were
Really?
yeah, because it was like apparently there was during that time it was a social like thing to have like a low ICQ number because then you were cool. Then you
Oh,
were cool. So
very
yeah.
opportunistic.
Hmm.
You were doing Bitcoin before there was Bitcoin.
I was doing Bitcoin before it was Bitcoin. Yeah, yep, yep, yep. Oh,
Yeah. I did a lot of IRC.
yep.
IRC is how I talked to all of the people that pirated video games with me.
Oh, I remember uh when I worked for Avanade, and we were doing a job at Nationwide Insurance. They did not allow instant messaging apps at all.
Yeah.
And so I ran a rogue IRC server on my laptop, and all the Avanade people connected to it, and that's what we
Nice.
used to chat.
So you guys could all talk to each other. That's fantastic. You know what, Paul? You're a problem solver. That's what you are. You're a problem solver.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That's what we did. That's what we did. It's just and like if I wasn't there, they just no one
fucking
chatted.
awesome.
But yeah, like Paul's there. I'd fire up the little little Windows service that was an IRC server, and boom, we went to town.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody was like afraid of that. I don't know
I
why.
don't either. Yeah.
But yeah, Skype I think was the first thing that I ever hooked a webcam up to. I'm trying to think
Oh,
if there was any
interesting.
other app that I had that even did that back then, and I don't think there was.
Yeah.
Man, it's just wild. It's just wild to me that program's that old. If you put a gun to my head, I would have said Skype was late aughts,
Yeah.
like 2009.
When did Microsoft buy them?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Because like I
I'm on the
remember.
Skype Wikipedia page.
Yeah, because I remember at the time it was their biggest acquisition to date. Oh, May 10th, 2011 for $8.5 billion.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Free video messaging services for Windows. Man, I'm just reading this. Oh, there's all the old logos. Ooh, boy. Man, Wikipedia is great. International call market share. Okay. I mean, that person looks like John Kruger in that window. I guess yeah, end of an era, man. End of an era. I still hop on IRC from time to time. Like, there's still some decent places to talk about on, like, decent places to go lurk on IRC.
I don't even
Super
have an
nerdy
IRC.
people still hang out on IRC.
I don't even have an IRC client, so.
Oh man, I remember MIRC and everything. That was so great.
I bet you there's some really great IRC clients for Mac. I bet you someone made a really nice bespoke.
Let's find out. Let's find one right now.
Okay.
Mac IRC client in the year of our Lord 2025.
There's Textual 7.
Textual is a simple, extensible IRC client. Okay. Can you show me a screenshot?
Yeah,
because this website sucks.
I see some screenshots. It looks very.
Oh, I'm on the wrong website. Yeah, I mean that. Okay, that's pretty basic.
Pretty basic. There's Line Chat.
Clients.
That looks even worse.
Colloquy. COLLOQU.
Oh yeah, look at that. It's got a pretty icon. It's open source on the Mac App Store.
I don't love that UI.
Oh no, it's real bad.
No, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, so they all, I guess I was wrong. They all kind of suck.
Snack.
You must be on the same page I am. The Snack webpage is not working.
$29 shareware. The content is maintained web.archive.org. You can only get to this page on the Wayback Machine. That's a great sign. Ooh, wow. That is old ass OS 10. Holy shit. All Mac OS clients. Lime Chat, XChat, Azure. We're just gonna throw every internet word. Okay, that's in Chinese.
Oh.
XChat Aqua Azure is a native front end for XChat 2 written on Cocoa. Really?
Cocoa. Fancy.
Ooh. Okay. Well, yep. I mean, I guess
really, I
guess
think
we
out
just
of all of them,
can't have nice things anymore.
It's textual. I think it's the best one I've seen. Textual.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't even know how to IRC these days.
I'm sure it would come back to me. Okay. Enough. So we will figure that out. So next episode, let's think about what we want to try to record on. I think Discord is probably the place to start, and if it sucks, and we'll figure it out. Okay, so but I want to talk about flight simming some more if people aren't already sick of this.
Oh, how deep is it go, Drew?
So since we last recorded, I have been spending a lot of time playing DCS World with my new setup.
DCS World?
DCS World.
What is that?
DCS, Digital Combat Simulator.
Oh, combat. Shooty planes. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, shooty planes. Okay. It's not Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's DCS World. And just like my train sim bullshit, the actual DCS application is free.
Okay.
So you can download that for free. And then the thing you want to do in it costs money. So just to give you an example, let's say you want to fly the F-14 Tomcat.
Okay.
So once you install DCS World, you then go onto Steam, or you can go to even the DCS store, and you can buy a module for the game for the F-14. So the F-14 Tomcat is $80 for the high fidelity module.
Okay.
Now, here's why I like this. If you've ever played a game that involves airplanes on the computer, like what was the last game you played that you can think of where you had to fly an airplane?
Oh, wow. I have to go way back. It's been a long time. Jeez.
But what I'm trying to drive at here, though, is it's probably one of those things where you played an arcade game.
That could be. Yeah.
So in DCS World, this is a combat simulation. The airplanes and the modules are modded to be as close to real world as possible. Okay. Now, to fully appreciate this, if you've ever watched a streamer play Microsoft Flight Simulator, that's like flying an airplane. All of the systems are modeled. The aerodynamics, the engines, the damage, the weather, the environment, everything is fully modeled for that flight model. And it's pretty realistic. Like if you try to barrel roll an Airbus A320, it's not going to go great. It's not what it's for.
No, not what it's for. Yes, exactly.
Now, of course, not everybody likes that level of nerdetry, so you can turn off some of the more hardcore sim things, make it a little more forgiving. That's not the target audience for DCS. The target audience for DCS are people who like military simulations, like a full fidelity flight simulator that as closely as possible without like breaking the Espionage Act and downloading the flight, the actual manuals for these planes.
Okay.
The closest thing you can get to fly these things. So let me give you an example. So all I've done in this game for the past week has been set up my controls.
Got it.
Now, hold on, though. Okay. That's not as crazy as it sounds.
Okay.
So So the module that I have chosen to focus on, and I'll explain the reasoning behind that in a minute, is I am focusing on the F16C Viper module.
Okay.
Now, why is that? Well, mostly just because one of the games that I played the shit out of in my formative years was Falcon. I don't know if you've ever played the Falcon
I don't
series
think
or
I
heard of the
have.
Falcon series.
I've heard of it, but I've never played. No.
So Mike, was it Spectrum Holobyte? I think was the company that made it. Yeah, Spectrum Holobyte. Spectrum Holobyte made a flight simulator that ran in DOS, and it had multimedia in it before multimedia was a thing. Like it had, I don't know, they were like 4 frames per second animation of like airplanes and stuff. But it was a pretty intense simulation for 1991. It was pretty good. And I loved it. I love the fact that you could boot up this game and you could play it as hardcore as you wanted to. Even by 1991, running this on an Intel 386 machine, it still provided a pretty good fidelity model of, and 1991 was a big year for the US military. That's Iraq War 1. So, everybody was rah, rah, rah in military, and yeah, let's drop laser guided bombs and all this other stuff. And that game had all that. And it came with this really big chunky manual that explained the basics of flight and the basics of the different systems in the game and how everything worked. And that's sort of what indoctrinated me to this. But anyway, part of the reason that I chose the F-16C module was because of that. Now, I own other planes. I own other planes for DCS. So I'm going to read off the different modules that I own. So I obviously own the F-16C Viper. I also own the F-14 Tomcat. I own the FA-18. I own the A-10. And I own the P-51D Mustang, prop plane. And then there's like different map packs and different terrain assets and things that you can buy. I've got a few of those.
Yeah, there's a
but
lot
if you're on,
of 160 different DLC options. Wow.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yep. And there's some that I still want. Like the one that I really, really want. The one that I really, really want is the F4 Phantom.
Okay.
But that is currently selling for $80.
Oof.
Yeah. But we've actually talked about that before, so I'm not gonna go look in the show notes if you want to see like the promo trailers for that. But it's since been released. It's gotten very good reviews, and they continue to these DLC get updates when they model a new system for one of the planes. They will release an update, and I'll explain why that's important here in a minute. But anyway, so part of the reason that I can really only focus on one is that each of these planes have their own control schemes. Each of these planes have systems that other planes don't have. So the first time I boot it up, it's mostly just about, okay, what are the basic flight controls that I have to have set up to successfully take off and land this airplane? So just thinking out loud, that's what button increases throttle? What extends the landing gear? How do I pitch and roll and yaw? How do I turn on the lights? How do I even start the fucking engines? Like those are all things that you have to do, because sometimes you will start in the aircraft that is completely off. So you have to know the startup procedure.
Okay.
And I can on my fancy Duchess flight sticks, there are a ton of switches that I can start the APU, and I can uncage the throttle. I can control the flaps. I can control the landing gear. I can control the outside lights. Those are all things that you sort of have to control. And then once you feel like, okay, I can fly this thing, I can fly it around, then you start doing some of the training missions. So one of the first training missions is you have to learn how to shoot the AIM-9X Sidewinder missile. And of all the different missiles that exist in the world, a Sidewinder is actually kind of the easiest because it's heat seeking, right? There's no major system on the airplane like a radar guided missile that you have to worry about. It's fly towards the enemy, don't die, and get behind them so that the missile knows where it is. Yeah. So the missile locks onto the heat signature of the airplane and then you launch. That's as simple as it gets. Until you realize that you need a button that puts your aircraft into air-to-air mode. Then you need a button that selects the Sidewinder. Then you need to figure out what button actually launches the missile. And if you miss, how do you use guns? So you have to map those. And when I say that every system on the aircraft is modeled, I'm not kidding. Every single switch in the cockpit, every single button in the cockpit, every single sound, every single monitor, everything is fully modeled in this simulation. So then you move on to the next thing where it's like, now you're going to launch a radar guided missile at an enemy that you can see. So you're in a dogfighting situation, you run out of heat-seeking missiles, you need to switch to a radar missile. Well, then you have to learn how the radar works. How do you power up the radar? How do you switch between different radar modes, like track while scan? How do you lock up an enemy using your radar when you're looking right at them? How do you successfully launch that missile and guarantee a hit? What happens if you miss? How do you change the radar mode of the missile so that if you launch and you lose lock, the radar on the missile doesn't rely on your radar, but then turns on its own radar to go hit the enemy? These are all buttons you have to have at your disposal. Then the next training mission is, how do you engage targets that are beyond visual range with your radar? How do you put the radar in a mode that can successfully detect, interrogate, and make sure that you're actually shooting at an enemy from beyond visual range? You have to then, go into the store's management system, which is a little side monitor in your aircraft. And you're basically clicking through the little computer, using your computer to play a game that's a simulation of an airplane that has a computer in it that you're touching to successfully configure the missiles to launch. And then once you learn all that the thing I'm learning about now is how to attack ground targets. How do you reconfigure the aircraft mid-flight to engage a tank? How do you successfully use TV-guided bombs? There's a whole set of controls about turning, so I can hit a button on my throttle, because there's I can't even begin to explain it to you, but on the throttle that I have, there are all these little hat switches and little toggle switches. What I can do mid-flight is when I'm flying towards the target area, I can hit a button that configures my aircraft for ground attack mode. I can turn on my targeting pod, which is my laser, and it has a little camera in it that shows up in the bottom little picture in my aircraft. I then slew the targeting pod, lays the target, and then I can select my AGM-65 Maverick missiles, make sure that is slewed to the laser of my targeting pod, and then successfully launch a missile.
Okay.
You have to map controls for all of this.
Okay. So at some point, you're going to run out of buttons on your fancy.
You're correct.
So then do you go to the keyboard next?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's sort of the point, is you have to figure out, I'm playing the F-16, and part of the reason I'm playing the F-16 is it is adept at both air combat and ground combat. If I was playing the A-10, I wouldn't have to worry about air-to-air combat, but I would have more systems that I would have to map on my controls for different payloads, like bombs and other like rockets and things that I would be launching at ground targets, because that's the primary role of that aircraft. With the F-16, there's so many different systems that you have to sort of juggle while you're flying, and have the situational awareness and the presence of mind to realize that, yes, I'm over here fiddling with all my knobs and switches to configure my aircraft for ground attack. And then when the little alarm starts going off that there's a plane somewhere off to my 4 o'clock, several hundred nautical miles away, potentially, that is lighting me up with their radar and getting ready to attack me, I have to be able to react. So really what it comes down to is what are the controls that I need to have at my disposal to be able to quickly basically reconfigure the aircraft and keep that situational awareness while I'm flying. And I mean, YouTube's great for this because I can go and watch a little 5-minute video that gives you the absolute basics. And what I love is what a lot of these content creators do is as they're walking you through, like I watched a tutorial the other day when I was taking a shit that was like, here's how you configure your AGM-65 and AGM-68 Maverick missiles. And it was just a little 5-minute video. Every time he would say something about what he was doing, he would basically have a little picture-in-picture of the controls page in DCS and what button you need to have mapped for you to do that thing. So, like I said, for the past week, it's just been experimenting with the different systems on the aircraft, learning how they work, failing because sometimes like you'll put the system into a mode that you didn't know what you did and it's not working correctly, and that's a really bad time when you're in combat. So learning what all those different things do. So the one that I watched today at lunch was all about countermeasures and what happens if somebody shoots a missile at you and how you evade, how you launch the different countermeasures, how to use the autopilot successfully was a big one. So that's what I've been doing for the past week. Now, I will say that I am approaching a point where I pretty much have the controls nailed down so that I can take off, I can do a mission, and I can land.
Okay.
And that in itself is an achievement. Remember, this is just one aircraft, though.
Yeah.
So once I get bored of the F-16, I got to do this shit all over again.
You have to learn a completely new aircraft.
I have to go learn a whole different aircraft. And if I go fly like the FA-18, that's a pretty similar aircraft to the F-16 with one really big fucking difference.
Okay.
I can take off and land on an aircraft carrier with that one.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And there's things in this simulation that I haven't even begun to do yet because I just haven't played a mission where this has been relevant. But they have full modeling of air-to-air refueling.
Huh.
So learning how to do that. Landing and taking off from an aircraft carrier. The F-14, for example, is really interesting because that's a 2-seater aircraft. So you have an AI crewmate behind you that's doing some of these things, and you can just basically issue them commands chat GPT style to tell them to scan for targets or launch missiles or do things for you. So, I mean, it's pretty incredible when you really start to peel back the layers of this. But you said the magic words a couple minutes ago.
I did?
Yeah. I'm running out of buttons.
Okay, we're running out of buttons. Okay, yeah.
I'm running out of buttons.
So you have to use your keyboard like a poor.
Do I?
I don't know. What are you buying? What are you buying?
Okay, all right. So I am approaching a place that, okay, what's going on with this webpage? I'm approaching a place.
You need more buttons.
Where I need more buttons. And once I have the muscle memory of what I have today, I will start playing this in VR. There is such an advantage of having a full freedom of movement of your head because how do I explain this? A lot of times your eyes are focused on your heads-up display. Yeah. And that's where all the most relevant information is. But if I need to operate the radar, that radar is out of my field of view with the default view in the cockpit. I have to have a hotkey that tilts my head 45 degrees down so I can see what's on those little screens and see those buttons.
Okay.
Now, if I'm playing in VR, all I would have to do is literally tilt my head and then grab my mouse and click a button. So it's getting to the point where I feel like I know where all the different switches are for the systems that I care about, but not all of the systems. There's still a decent amount of keystrokes that have to happen for certain things. Not all the time. Not all the time. But just enough that it's like, man, if I start playing this in VR, I need like my Quest can do this where it can do the pass through, where it will turn on like a little webcam that will pass through the image to your eyes about what you're looking at. So I need more buttons, Paul. And wouldn't you know it?
I'm sure someone out there will sell you more buttons.
Well, they won't just sell me more buttons, Paul.
Okay.
Here's what they'll sell me.
Is it a button subscription? Button of the
month. Buttons as a service.
Yeah. What the fuck is this? Hold on. Why isn't it loading? I saw a picture and then everything went white. Oh no.
Yeah, the website isn't great.
I'm turning off my content blocker. There we go.
Okay.
Holy shit.
So this is a company called WinWing.
Okay. That's wow. Okay. Are those little screens?
They are little screens.
God damn it, Drew.
Those are the screens. Those are the screens that I have to look at in the game. Now, here's the cool thing about DCS. It's very extensible via Python and Lua.
Okay.
Now, what we're looking at here is a really interesting panel. It's actually 3 panels in one. There's 2 MFDs called multifunction displays. And what you're looking at there are the exact same panels that would be in an F-16.
Okay.
So those little screens with those buttons on the 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 9 o'clock are how you operate the majority of the systems in the aircraft. And what you can't really tell unless you click on the very last picture, and I think this is probably the easiest way to explain it, the very last picture on this thing, which is the Viper MIP, it's a combo panel sold by a company named WinWing.
WinWing.
They sell little MFDs with all of these buttons that I would normally have to press virtually. And when you install the software for this particular panel, it will install the necessary extensions and hook into the different things in DCS, where it will take the image that is normally shown on the virtual panel in the game and put it on this panel that you can look at with your own eyes.
Oh, okay. How would that work in VR?
Well, okay, so this is where it gets interesting, right? Before I go there,
okay,
the final panel in the middle is actually, that's not where it is in the aircraft. That panel in the middle is actually what's right below your HUD. And that little numeric, it almost looks like a touch tone pad.
Yeah.
Is how you can page through different things and access different modes on the aircraft. And I don't think it'll let you zoom in, but there's those round buttons that sort of are right below the little mini LCD display.
Uh-huh.
Those are the different modes of the aircraft, like air to air, air to ground, dogfight, missile override, custom setup 1, custom setup 2. So you actually would have this at your fingertips versus having to go to your mouse, change your view in the game, and get to these things. And for all intent and purpose, they look really good. I've watched a few YouTube videos about them. They're really well made, and it's just like you said, they're little screens. So how would I use this? Well, like in the picture that you're looking at here, that left-hand side is the radar. So okay, I could control my radar configuration, turn it off, turn it on, change modes, lock up enemies, change my scan azimuth, change the antenna direction, change the radar modes. I could do all of that on this panel, which is pretty interesting in itself. Now, you asked an interesting question. Well, Drew, you said you're going to play in VR, so do you really need panels with screens? And the answer is no. So they sell that same panel in what they call the VR version of this panel. And the VR version of this panel is the same thing, same layout, but it doesn't have screens. So it's a few $100s cheaper because it doesn't have the little LCD screens. It's still tactile. Like you could still reach around and touch it and grab it and hit the buttons and everything if you wanted to. I don't know how well that would work in real life, because just like I described where I would have the problem with keyboard commands, I would probably have the same problem here, unless you build up the muscle memory about where you had this mounted and hitting the right button. but it's basically the same thing without the actual little mini displays. And they make these panels for different aircraft.
Of course.
So if you go to the store page and then you go to like combat panel,
I've been clicking around. Don't worry.
Yeah. So they have one for the FA-18. That's the Top Gun MIP. They have one for what's the I think one of these is for the F-15 as well. So they don't have it for every aircraft, but they have it for a lot of them. The Legend MIP is really cool. That's a cool $1,000. That thing's crazy. Absolutely crazy. But pretty fucking cool though. I'm not going to lie. That is so cool to me. Now, we talked about the cockpit, like the flight chair thing that we talked about last time.
Oh yeah, I've been looking at my cockpit option on this page. Yeah.
I think that if I had gone that route, I would be more inclined to invest in some more of this stuff. But if I'm going to do VR, I'm probably not going to buy this stuff.
I get that. Yeah.
But yeah, you can totally configure this whole thing for pretty much any aircraft you want to fly. Ooh, and that's the other cool thing too. So there's a module for DCS for an AH-64D Apache.
Okay.
But helicopter controls are so different than flight controls. But they actually have collectives, which are the things that control the speed and pitch of the rotor that you can buy. That's pretty fucking dope. I'm not gonna lie. That's really fucking dope. But yeah, so that's where my head's at. So I'm probably gonna go to VR first. And like I said, I pretty much have my whole setup dialed in. And I really want to get on to some of the PvP servers for DCS. Because everything I'm doing right now is against AI. And the AI is pretty good. But there's entire servers that have like perpetual battles where I could like load in an F-16, and if I fly out there and shoot down some aircraft, that helps my side, or I could engage ground targets. I could destroy strategic things. Like there's this whole thing out there. There's entire subreddits for this stuff. I'm telling you, man, this shit, I'm so deep in this shit that it's crazy because I love this deep crunchy simulation. It's hard. It's really fucking hard. But it's so fucking cool to be able to like do all this stuff.
I'm glad you find this enjoyable because this whole thing sounds like the opposite of fun to me.
You know, it is a lot of fucking around. It is a lot of fucking around to get it set up right. But once you're in the cockpit and you feel like you have a command of the different aircraft systems, it's so cool. It's so cool. And again, thank God for YouTube. And by the way, if you just want to fly something that has like a good simulation level to it and you don't want to have to learn radar modes and everything else that I said, if you're looking at the DLC page for DCS, there's like MiG-15s and F-86s. Those are like jets from the 50s. So those I don't even think have missiles. That's just jets with guns. So I don't even know if they have radars. They might, but you can just hop in one of those and toot around if you want to. Which, you know, that's a pretty good place to do. And of course, I don't know if you're watching like the DCS page, but the in-game screenshots, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, it looks pretty incredible.
It's gorgeous. It's every bit as pretty as Flight Sim. And if you crank all of the options for like the trees and the buildings, you can be up in the clouds and there's weather effects, and then you have to like know how to turn on your night vision and turn on your infrared sensors to be able to see through cloud cover to launch your munitions. Like, I'm telling you, man, it's something else. I know it's not for everybody, and I'm totally nerding out right now, and I'm sure people have already tuned out, but it's so fucking cool. It's so fucking cool though. I'm so glad that I have this setup right now, because I feel like even though I've had hands-on throttle and stick stuff before, this thing just feels so good. It has all of the switches that I need. Like all of the switches that I need. It's just at my fingertips, and being able to control the different systems of the aircraft just feels really good. I think we talked. And the last thing I'll say is, I had similar hardware for flight sim. I had the autopilot thing, I had the yoke, I had the different rudders and throttle things. This is just the next level of that.
Right.
And just being able to fly these different aircraft. So anyway, that's where I'm at. So my flight sim adventure continues. I will start streaming this once I feel like I have a little better grasp on some things. I will start streaming it because I did figure out how to take the output of my headset and actually get that into OBS.
Okay.
So you'll be able to watch me flail around in a cockpit, stumbling to find the right button. So to be continued there.
To be continued. I think we did it.
I think we did it. I'm going to go take more cold medicine.
Yeah. I don't blame you. I'm actually kind of strongly consider going to bed early.
Oh man, I went to bed last night at like 8:00. I felt like shit. I went to the gym and we had to do rope climbs.
Oof.
And I was just in that pre-getting sick thing where I felt not great. And then it was somebody else's birthday, and I wore a weight vest to do rope climbs. I did not feel good when I got home because I was already feeling sick, and that didn't help things. So yeah, going to bed when you don't feel good is just the best.
Yep.
Get us out of here, though.
Yeah. You know where to find us. You're listening to us, so obviously, doingtheirbest.com. You can find all the links to all of this wonderful stuff Drew talked about. And hey, thanks for listening.